I'm getting married in 3 weeks, and I'm totally screwed because I'm in a secret relationship with my fiancé's uncle. What would you do if the one moment meant to define your happiness turned into a nightmare? I'm getting married in just 3 weeks to the love of my life. Or, at least, that's what I keep telling myself. Jake is everything I've ever wanted in a partner. He's kind, dependable, and he's been my rock through some of the hardest times in my life. When he proposed 6 months ago, I thought my life was finally falling into place. But as I sit here now, staring at my engagement ring, I feel more trapped than happy. It's because I'm keeping a secret that could destroy not just my relationship, but his entire family. By the end of this story, you'll understand why my dream wedding feels more like a countdown to disaster, and why I may never say, I do. 6 months ago, Jake proposed to me. It was simple, sweet, and everything I could have asked for. We were on the beach at sunset, just the two of us. He knelt in the sand, holding out a small velvet box, and said the words every girl dreams of hearing. My hands were shaking when he slipped the ring onto my finger. I cried, and we kissed under the fading light, waves crashing in the background. Jake is the kind of man people envy. He's the one who remembers anniversaries, leaves little love notes, and makes pancakes on Sunday mornings. He's good to me, good for me. He's the kind of person who makes you believe in forever. His family is no different. Jake comes from a big, close-knit family that celebrates everything. Birthdays, holidays, even random Friday nights. They find a reason to get together. They're loud, affectionate, and warm. From the moment I met them, they made me feel like I belonged. And then there was Mark. Mark is Jake's uncle. He's older, late 40s maybe, but he doesn't look it. He has this calm, confident energy that makes you want to listen when he speaks. He isn't loud like the rest of Jake's family. He's reserved, observant, the kind of person who notices the little things most people miss. The first time we spoke was at a family dinner. Jake was introducing me to everyone, and Mark was sitting at the end of the table, quietly sipping a glass of wine. He smiled politely when Jake introduced me and said something generic like, "Welcome to the family." Later that evening, while everyone else was laughing and talking over each other, Mark and I ended up in a quiet corner of the backyard. He asked me about myself. Not the surface-level stuff, but the kind of questions that make you think. We talked about books we loved, places we wanted to visit, and dreams we had let go of. At the time, it felt innocent. I didn't think much of it. He was just being polite, making me feel welcome. Over the next few months, Mark and I kept finding ourselves in these little moments. At family events, we'd gravitate toward each other without meaning to. At least, that's what I told myself. Jake didn't think anything of it. He was happy that I was getting along with his family, especially Mark. He doesn't open up to people easily, Jake told me once. It's nice that he likes you. Then there was the night of the family barbecue. Jake and I had been running late, and when we arrived, the backyard was already packed with his cousins, aunts, and uncles. I felt overwhelmed. There were so many people, and everyone wanted to talk to me at once. I ended up stepping away, needing a moment to breathe. That's when Mark found me. He was sitting on a patio chair, smoking a cigarette, watching the chaos from a distance. "Big families can be a lot, huh?" he said, smiling as I walked over. We talked for almost an hour. He told me about his job, his divorce, the struggles he'd been through over the past few years. I found myself opening up to him in a way I hadn't with anyone else. Not even Jake. It was effortless. Later that night, when Jake stayed behind to help clean up, Mark offered to drive me home. I didn't think twice about accepting. The car ride started out normal. Small talk, nothing serious. But as we got closer to my apartment, the conversation shifted. We talked about regrets, about the things we wanted but were too afraid to go after. When he pulled up in front of my building, there was this moment of silence. I reached for the door handle, but I hesitated. I looked at him, and for a split second, I thought he was going to kiss me. He didn't, but something changed between us that night. Something I couldn't ignore. After that night, I started noticing everything. The way his eyes would linger on me during family dinners. The way he'd find excuses to talk to me, even if it was just to ask how my day was. It was subtle at first, but it didn't take long for things to escalate. There was a time he texted me late at night, just to ask if I was okay. Then there was the night Jake was out of town, and Mark showed up at my apartment unannounced. He said he was in the neighborhood and thought he'd check on me. We ended up talking for hours. He stayed late, too late, and when he finally left, I couldn't sleep. I knew what we were doing was wrong, but I couldn't stop. Every family dinner felt like a test. I'd sit next to Jake, smiling and laughing, while Mark sat across the table, his gaze burning into me. Jake didn't notice, or maybe he did, and he just didn't want to believe it. With the wedding just 3 weeks away, the pressure became unbearable. Jake was so excited, talking about honeymoon plans and writing his vows. Every time he smiled at me, my stomach twisted. Then there was the night Mark kissed me. It was late, after another family gathering. Jake was in the other room, talking to his cousins. Mark and I were in the kitchen, cleaning up. I turned to grab a dish, and suddenly he was there, too close. He didn't say anything, just leaned in and kissed me. I pulled away, but it was too late. The line had been crossed. I knew I couldn't keep living like this. I had to make a choice. So I sat down with Mark and told him it had to end. He didn't take it well. He said he never felt this way about anyone before, that he didn't know how to let go. But I knew we couldn't keep doing this. It wasn't fair to Jake, and it wasn't fair to me. Now, I'm left with the weight of this secret. Do I tell Jake the truth and risk destroying his family? Or do I keep it to myself and hope it never comes out? Either way, I know I'll never be the same. This experience has taught me that love isn't always simple. Sometimes, the hardest choices are the ones that hurt the most. What would you do if you were in my position? Would you tell the truth or carry the secret to your grave? Let me know in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deeply personal and reflective stories. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again in our next video.